all the things that we don't like matter a tremendous amount. You want to start a company, you got to get very comfortable with doing things you don't like to do. For people who do know this stuff, I know you're just going to be laughing at me right now, and it's okay. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Dale and Grace Take Over the World. For those of you who don't know, this is a podcast about building an entertainment company, one that will help to create and inspire the next generation of storytellers, raise the bar of craftsmanship, and also tell incredible stories. And we're currently in, I guess, the third year of the company, gone through our ups and downs. Grace here reminded me that this week marks the 1 year anniversary of Hurricane Ida, which flooded our entire office and was quite an experience. And we could save that for another time. I thought it was kind of, I guess she messed me up when she said that. It also happened to be the same day that we found out some other
on news.
Bad news, which is, and by the way, we're recording this fall of 2022, and there's this impending recession that's coming, and I have been preparing somewhat.
Can I say it's an emotional hurricane?
I like that. That's a good word. We're gonna roll with that, fam.
I stole
this
that.
This week was definitely an emotional hurricane. You stole that from who?
Sophie.
So a couple of weeks ago, we lost one of our big clients. It was a 6-figure plus client that ends in October. That hurt. This week, we found out that we're going to be basically getting from our other biggest client, a 40% revenue cut. So essentially, in a matter of a month, we've lost probably 35-40% of our company's overall revenue, like any good team would do. You went out and we got drunk. How you feeling, Grace?
Good. Yeah.
Shout them out, bro. Mad Chicken on Grand Avenue.
Yeah. Their soju mule. No.
Yeah, soju mule, man. So they do a Moscow mule, but I always ask for it with soju, and it's the or sorry, they call it a soul mule. Same thing now, soju, and we stuffed our face with some bulgogi beef bowls. Because you're allowed to sulk a little bit. I mean, we're gonna get up. We've been working at it. We've been fucking crunching numbers. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it through. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part. But I do think that like there's a lot of rah people out there. And at the end of the day, like you're allowed to. It hurts. It hurts. There's no seeing it not hurt. Just the same way that it felt good when we got our first 6-figure check. You know what I mean? Like that shit felt good. We just don't let it feel too good or too bad for too long, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering what the week was like for you. Actually, I got to say that you were very like, I know we say we're stoics here, but you were very stoic when we found out. And I now is the time, because I wanted to ask you, then I said, I'm going to save it for the podcast. How did you not react to any of that?
First of all, you have been adamant about telling me to stop reacting so insanely, because my natural instinct is to be like about everything.
Bro, this girl screams for nothing. Like literally, it's like, oh, I forgot that I left my keys downstairs. You know, it's like, bro, why? You know, you make me feel like the world is ending at this company sometimes. And now the world is ending, and you don't feel shit.
So that's another thing. That's partly just who I am, as in like I'll react so emotionally about little things, like I dropped the keyboard, and then nothing. And then when it's actually serious, I won't react. That is like how I am, because it's just too intense. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know how to react. But also because I've been making a conscious effort not to be so dramatic when it comes to work. Just so I don't scare you. Tactical empathy. It's like, I'm sure you're already freaking out. So it's like, I wouldn't add anything by also freaking out. Also, having been at this company for a year, I feel like I don't think anything this dramatic financially has happened, but also we get hit by so many different things that like, I'm kind of just like, all right, we're going to figure it out. I trust that it's going to work out. So it wasn't that
I don't know, man.
Crazy to me. I don't know.
Wise beyond your years, I guess. I mean, for me, it's like, you freak out on the inside, and you got a role to play on the outside. At least that's the way I look at it. So, I play the CEO role. People have to believe that I'm steering the ship and I know what I'm doing. I do think I know that. I do think I have a clear sense of it, but like, man, sometimes you just want to, it's hard. It's definitely hard to resist the desire to just say like, woe is me,
Mm-hmm.
That is hard.
Woe is me is pretty easy.
Also, this week, by the way, fam, it's not like and also, in addition to all that, I busted my knee on Monday squatting. Like, of course, I'm
As
in the
you're
middle of a cut, and I don't know if it was just that I had low energy and I tried to lift the same way, and for whatever reason, I think it's called bursitis. Basically, I have a lot of pain when I bend my knee. I think it's slowly going away, but like, essentially, I felt useless as a human, literally being like bedridden with my leg elevated all week, and then this all happens on top of that, and it's just, and then everybody wants to know what's next, Dale. What are we gonna do here? And they all look at me, and it's kind of like I don't know. It's a weird sort of pressure. They look at me the way I want them to, which is like we trust that you're gonna figure this out. But then it's the same thing where I'm like, well, I think they trust that I'm gonna figure this out. It's like the same. It's such a thing. And I guess at a certain point, you're either gonna do it or not. What's the worst case here? I don't figure it out.
and then we let everyone go.
Yeah, and then I take the money in the bank and I don't know,
Run.
where do you want to go? Brazil, Japan?
Brazil's probably better. I was thinking just culture wise, I feel like we both feel more comfortable there long
Yeah.
term.
So then we'll go to Brazil. We take the money in the bank and we start some new shit, I guess, right?
I have connections in Brazil. My family works in advertising agencies or creative directors, so
There we go. Start from scratch again, build a bag up. I mean, I guess that's what you do, right? You're like, what's the worst possible thing? I'm going to be okay. But the thing is, obviously, I feel a tremendous amount of responsibility for all the people that are here. But if I really took a second to be like, fuck everything, I'm out, it's okay. I'll be okay. And I guess once I'm there, it gets a little easier to be like, all right, so now that I know I'm all right, it's fine. Let's figure this thing out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that was definitely a big thing this week. Definitely in a place of it being rough. Hopefully next week podcast, you'll hear me come out the gate swinging. We got a plan. We're working this out. Yada yada yada. But I will say that there's a part of the thing that I think hurts the most, and this is just real talk from me to you guys, is that changes are going to have to be made. That's tough. I've never had to do that before. We don't know exactly, but I'm fairly certain that we won't be able to retain all of the employees, which is a devastating thing for me. But it's weird. I don't know. I feel like I've somewhat tried to avoid being in this position, and I'm gonna have to learn how to do this. I'm gonna have to make sure I do it with grace and dignity, and make sure that I do it the way that I said I've always wanted it to be done. Which, by the way, I've worked at, I was a freelancer. I've been at big agencies. I've been at big publishing companies, and I'll never forget. Like when somebody gets let go, it's like they were never there. Literally, security guards come in, take their shit off their desk, and boom, you never get to say goodbye. You never get nothing. Yeah. And then there's this weird thing because like they take most of the shit off their desk, and then like a day or two later, scavengers come and just like take the rest of the stuff.
oh,
It's weird. Like, oh, I liked his keep. Oh, he's got a monitor over there. I guess I'll take it now. Very odd, right? Because they take all the stuff that was like their personal stuff, but like any of the company stuff that was given to them remains. And then, yeah, it is interesting. And I always promised that I would never do it that way because I just wanted to make sure that unless obviously something bad happened, like if something bad happened and there's a real reason for firing somebody, it's one thing. But if I have to let somebody go, I want to make sure that they know that we support them, we care about them. I mean, it's not going to be easy no matter what.
I've been doing a lot of research about, letting people go and the process. And it's just terrible in any situation. That's all the articles are like, it sucks. It just sucks. I don't know. There's no way to make it good.
Yeah, man. Makes me think about that movie Up in the Air. You ever see Up in the Air?
No.
It's a great movie, man. George Clooney and Vera Farmiga. George Clooney plays like an HR guy. He flies around the world firing people.
Oh, yes. I know that movie. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to have to rewatch it. You know what I'm saying? Because because that was his job, right? He was used to it and he got build up the right skills. I don't really know what to say or do. We'll see how it goes and I'll share it with you guys and hopefully it can be valuable as I go through this experience. We're going to try to I'm a big optimist, I try to look on the bright side. So I'm sure we're going to find a way through it. I'm sure. Here's the thing, right? Recessions, economic downturns, ups and downs at a company, those things are guaranteed. Anyway, so I'm an optimist about things. We're going to get through this. This is a natural economic shift. It is bound to happen. As a Stoic, that's how we look at it, right? Gonna happen. What matters now is that we operate properly, smartly through this next few years, this rough patch, and that we come out the other side stronger. That's what matters. Even though I know that and I say that, that doesn't mean it's about to get real hard. That was a big part of this week. What else happened this week, Grace?
Like event wise?
Whatever, bro. You know, what are the big topics that happened this week at this company? I know we had some good.
We're planning your mom's birthday.
Oh, that's a good one. My mom is turning 60, September 11th. I know, awkward date. You want to know what's even crazier? My brother Nick is also born September 11th. My mom gave birth on her birthday, which,
Yeah.
oh, I guess this will come out afterwards so I can say it. So my family is horrible secret keepers, dude. They're literally like, they don't know how to hold a secret for anything. That's why my father, he was like trying to make a video for my mom, you know, like a photo montage. And I was like, no, I'm just going to tell her. She's going to help me find the right video. She's going to give me the right songs. Like, there's no point in surprising her with a video, bro. She expects, if she wants a video, she expects a video. Let's just do it right. She's not going to know what's in the video, right? So it's stuff like that. Anyways, I really wanted one thing to be a secret, which is that for whatever reason, I really felt compelled to write a speech.
And this has been happening for like a few months now. You've been saying that for a while.
Oh, have I? See, I don't even know these things
Yeah,
anymore.
in the making. It's been in the making.
Well, this week I sat down and I did write the speech, and I did not record it, but we did time it and say it out loud a few times. And next week I'm gonna really get all the acting and performance down. And Grace is my performance coach, of course. And I don't know, what did you think about it?
It's so good. It's like it leaves me wanting more, but also not. It's like the perfect length. It doesn't drag.
3:35, by the way, guys. If you're looking for a good length, under 5. I'm a big proponent of under 5, somewhere between 3 and 4. If you have enough good shit,
It's
is
usually
pretty solid.
At these parties, it like goes too long and then you lose interest.
Totally.
But it's so concise and it gets to the point, but it like gets you in the heart. And I just know everyone's gonna be crying.
Yeah, it'll be filmed. I'm definitely gonna share it too, because I would say of all the speeches I've written, this is the real one. And I guess I'll just say a little bit about it, which is that, you know, I'm a very honest guy and I have a very unique relationship with my mom. We've kind of like always been very honest with each other. And recently, we're going through some tough times in my family. We're going to work it out, but we're going through some tough times. And she had kind of asked me recently, Dale, was I a good parent? Was I a good mother? And you know, it was off the cuff, and I did what I normally do, which is I actually just like thought about it. I didn't really answer her right away, which I'm sure is not the right thing to do, but you know, and then I had a real conversation with her about it, and what I think worked for us as we were growing up, and you know how she things she might not have realized, she might not have known how some things would impact us, right? And we kind of had a conversation about that, and but I definitely have been thinking about that, and so that's kind of, I guess, to tease it a little bit, that's kind of the centerpiece of the speech is sort of analyzing and answering this question about if my mother was a good parent. And next week we're gonna really perform it. I'm gonna make sure I get all the beats down, and I'll give one tip, if it's a storytelling tip or not, for verbal storytelling. I'm very interested to see how this goes. This time I also am including, now that's specific. Remember, we're at a 60th birthday. Everybody there already loves her. And I'm including a little audience participation in the speech, which I think is different from some of my other ones. And so I'm using the audience to help get me to all of my good bait and switches and stuff like that, right? So I'm using them to give the obvious answers so that as I reply, I can give them the thing they weren't expecting, right? But I'm using their involvement to even further emotionally connect them to what they think it should be. And then I swap it on their heads and give them the good old razzle dazzle. So we'll see how it goes. We're gonna be working on that too. What else was big this week? I mean, we had a lot of conversations about ideation and execution right now versus execution. So again, I'll just reiterate, one of our big partners at this company is a company called Profluent. They're a big publisher on Snapchat. We make shows on Snapchat, has viewership to the tune of 2, 4, 6, 8-ish, at least over 5 million unique viewers per week. So it's a lot of reach. We have been having some inconsistencies on the story side with our company. And I'm big on, I'm really big on craftsmanship. So what does that really mean? That means I have a huge emphasis on execution over anything else. Okay. A good idea is worthless to me. Can you make it? How is it when it's done? Did you execute on the things that you set out to do? Those are the things that matter the most. And there's been a lot of discussion about that as we're sort of trying different things with the script and sort of trying to adopt to the puzzle piece storytelling ideology. And there's conflicts here and there. And I think it really comes down to, where are we putting the emphasis? Do you put it on a good idea, or do you put it on the execution of that idea? Now, Grace, you're a recent graduate of the prestigious NYU Drama School. I am curious, what do you think from the education that you received there? Like, where are your views on this stuff? What did they value? What was the things that you think you were taught to sort of pursue as an artist and a creative?
As pertaining to ideation versus execution,
I
or in
mean,
general? I mean,
well, yeah, I'm curious, but I think it all comes down to those things.
the thing that was emphasized is making your own work and having your
Hmm.
own ideas and being your own creator, you know? So,
Mm.
like you mentioned earlier this week, it was a lot of everyone having their own ideas for stories. And that's where I felt like I didn't fit in because I never had my own ideas. I feel like from a young age, I was like, I want to be part of someone else's idea. I don't have my own. Like, I don't think I lived this incredibly unique life or just, I don't know. I don't have a story I want to tell. And so that made me feel like I'm not going to survive out there because everyone's like, no, you need to have your own story to tell your own voice. And I feel like I've discovered, I think you can have your own voice without having your own story to tell. But,
I'm big on that. There's no way our fingerprints are not on our work, right?
right.
But again, at the company, what we sell is how we make the work. That's what makes it special. How we do it. Which, by the way, shout out to Forge, my business coaches. They're the ones who really got me to realize that, and inspired me to recognize that, what I'm trying to build is like more of a Pixar. I mean, Disney has a really strong brand too, but their reach is so wide. You know what I mean? I think we're going to be sort of small and mighty and try to have that standard be incredibly high across the board. I want people listening to think about this. What is Pixar's worst movie? It's Cars 2, probably, right?
Yes.
Right? Now think
Yeah.
about it in the Cars franchise, perhaps in general. The Cars one was decent, but like, okay, that's their worst. Their worst movie is like everybody else's best movie. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You got to think about that. You got to respect that their floor is so high. And then
Hmm.
when they do hit that Toy Story, that Wally, that Up, Inside Out, when they do hit those highs, it's you just getting outclassed. I actually really love Soul. I'm gonna shout out Soul, one of their more recent movies, because it was such an ambitious attempt at talking about the meaning of life, basically. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe you guys really did that. And I have a lot of respect for people trying to uncover and think about these really difficult and big ideas. I realize that that's the idea. Every Pixar movie, it's a Pixar movie. It feels like a Pixar movie. It has that essence. But you can see them slowly, after they figured out how they want to make their movies, branch out and say, okay, now we'll try something with a human character. Okay, now we're going to try something that's really a slice of life story. We're going to try something in a different culture like Coco, which is one of my favorite Pixar movies, right? So it's like really impressive, and it's really inspiring, and like that's kind of what I realized that I'm trying to build at this company. So I don't know how they view it, and I'm about to get their book, what is it, Creators Inc. or Creative Inc. or something like that I'm like going to really study the company now that I've discovered this. I was also taught at film school to like find your voice and stuff. I don't know how else to say it. I think the way you do that is by making a ton of stuff, right? And in the beginning you're derivative. You're like, I like Tarantino. I'm going to copy Tarantino. I was an anime guy. I copied anime stuff. PTA, people were obsessed with PTA when I was in school. They were obsessed with the Coen brothers. They were obsessed with Michael Bay and, whatever. And so every movie was some version of another movie. But I think that's fine. That's how you start until you start to figure out who you are. But you need reps to do it, which again would put focus more on how you're doing it than what you're making. That's an opinion, of course. And I think there's just such a skewed view about the whole film industry because we're idolizing those prodigies, the Ben Zeitlins, the Damien Chazelles, which I think they're incredible too, and I idolize them. Those are the prodigy, unique 0.001 percenters, right? They don't teach you how to sustainably do it. And I'm looking for, how do I get good at this thing? How do I control this thing? And I just keep coming back to it, bro. So what this week came down to with these Snapchat stories is really understanding, like, we need to make sure that we are all on the same page as to how we make these shows. I don't want surprises. I want consistency. Then once we've mastered this formula, then we can try something if we think there's a better way. But I also have a big emphasis on efficiency here. So once it's good enough, then it needs to be done as fast or efficiently as possible. And then you start to cycle over and see if you can make it better and then see if you can make it more efficient until you hit your, terminal speed or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But it's been a big debate. And I'm definitely curious for other people's thoughts on this. Obviously, everybody can do it their own way. We also posted on Instagram this week, which started a little bit of a debate. I posted a pro tip that when you are working on a narrative film and you have the great pleasure of seeing it in the theater, don't watch the movie, watch the people watching your movie. I'm very curious, Grace. What's your opinion on this?
Oh, I totally agree.
Why?
Because from their reaction, you can tell if the thing that you intended landed, and if it didn't, I mean, they could interpret something different from it.
When Sophie screens her film and you're up on the big screen, you're not curious how you're gonna come off, or I guess like to see what you think of that performance on that big screen.
I've already seen it. I'm sick of seeing it. I want to see people's reactions.
Why?
Because I want to see
Why
how.
are you sick of seeing it? I'm curious.
Because I've seen it. I've learned from what I learned from it. Like, why am I gonna keep watching it? It's just gonna get more like cringy. I took what I needed to learn from it. Unless someone else has something else to teach me about it, I don't need to keep watching myself.
So you're saying that you feel like you've gotten an accurate depiction of your own performance.
Yeah, from watching
already.
Yes. So I don't need to further watch it.
Curious now. What did you gather from that film about your performance in it?
I was in a weird place during that time. I remember something whack happened the day before. So that whole weekend of shooting, I was out of it. Anyway, maybe in a later episode I'll share.
I'm dying to know the juice. There's definitely some juice there.
I've been in front of the camera in a classroom setting, but I've never been on set in front of the camera. I've been on set behind the camera, but not in front, let alone being the lead all of a sudden. So it's like, I didn't know what that entailed and like all of the logistics that aren't the acting of it, like just standing there, having a mic uncomfortably on me, being freezing cold and all that stuff. Wait, what was the question? I'm derailing.
What did you learn, dude? Like, you're saying you've gotten all there is to get. In my opinion, you haven't until you see it in the theater. But I guess the argument about watching yourself, see, because for me, we're the editors, right? Or we're the directors, so we were in the editing room. So like the entire game for us is predicting what's going to happen in the theater, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manipulate my audience into an emotional experience through this connection of visuals, music, color, etc., whatever that is, right? I enjoy seeing if our predictions were accurate. That's what gets me off in terms of the whole process, right? When we made this choice, we were envisioning people act this way. Do they act this way? For you, though, I don't know if it's the same, right?
Well, I think it's different because in this one, I've seen it so many times in the edit because you were there. I was there when you were editing it, and we got to point out places where I looked phony versus where I didn't. And that was a good learning experience, being like, yeah, what am I doing there? I'm somewhere else. It's always fun to see how much you suck. But then if it was my first time seeing my performance in the theater, I don't know, like.
Wait, I gotta actually go back because obviously I'm trying to put myself on camera more. I find it so difficult to watch me.
Oh yeah. I mean, it gets, I feel like I did it so much in school that it got less bad, but the first few times it was horrific. Especially on Zoom when it's like you're seeing everyone's reactions right here instead of.
Oh, you're not like on stage, they're peripheral.
Or in a theater, in a film, movie theater, you see all the reactions and then I just see me and I'm like, that was the worst.
Imagine doing stand-up comedy on Zoom. You're already destined to just, yeah.
I also heard about stand-up over Zoom was that the reaction would be delayed, so it threw comedians for a week. Yeah, that not getting that instant laugh really messed them up. Yeah. Oh god.
I could only imagine. A lot of stand-up comedy is it's speech, right? It's like you're literally trying to have a conversation to some degree. And man, and it's definitely just less funny. Other people laughing makes you feel more comfortable to laugh.
Yeah.
But if you're alone in your house, oh my God. Okay, so interesting. So yeah, that debate will rage on. And the reason why I really started because I had a good friend of mine, Alex, posted that for him, when he sees it in the theater, it is a different experience. And so he really enjoys watching his movie big. And that's when I kind of realized that I guess for him, it's whatever, right? Like like I'm realizing specifically in my position, I replied to him saying like, if I don't know roughly what's gonna happen, like yeah, it's always gonna be different. We try to mimic those conditions, kind of like an athlete, right? We're gonna try to mimic the conditions of the scenario in which most people will be viewing it so that we can best predict and make the best choices for their experience. So theoretically, it's going to be different, obviously, with emotions and on the day and whatever when you see it in a theater. But if it's too different than what I expected, there's a problem. I have
Mm.
stuff to work on then. And so I think that was just a really interesting conversation in general about, why do we do it? That's I know why I do it. That's why. To be able to be like, you're supposed to laugh here. Did I get you to laugh? No, why not? Audience, room, length of cut, content, right? We really thought this was going to get you all the jump scare. Nobody jumped though. Why? What can I do next time to help push that forward? And obviously when you're putting your film on the circuit, you see it like 10, 20 times in the theater. So sure, maybe the first time you're seeing it, you could breathe it in, watch it like you've never seen it before, which is impossible. Most of the time when I've done that, I'm just like, wow, that went by so fast. I cut that so fast. But I don't think that's real. That's my adrenaline. And basically, I think what it is I'm anticipating every single cut that's coming. So like it's faster than it is if I'm just watching it because I'm literally ahead of the movie. So I think that's why things tend to feel faster. But then once I started watching the audience, it also helped take a lot of the pressure off of the situation, at least for me. But maybe that's because I don't know if this is like a humble brag, but I feel like most of the movies that I've been a part of tend to have the desired effect for the most part. And if they don't, I'm clocking it and I'm constantly learning and growing for the next attempt. But yeah, so that was another big topic of conversation this week. And then, lastly, I think with all the ups and downs, thinking a lot about what my business coaches are pushing me to do, I realized that, which is going to sound very counterintuitive to what the beginning of this podcast was about, is I feel like as risky as I come off, I think I'm a little bit risk averse right now. And I think I'm going to have to find ways to get through that and to have more self-belief in what we're doing, to commit harder to what I believe we're going to become, and to take more risks in that direction. You got to add something.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, it's definitely, it's tough because I think that the urge right now is to play defense, but I think we're going to have to find the right way to play offense because when everybody else is hurting, they're going to be playing defense. And I think it's going to open up opportunity for me to make more content than them, work harder than them, build more relationships, especially when it's down. The relationships that we're going to build in the next year when everybody is struggling are probably going to be the ones that are going to stick through when times are good, right?
Like investing in stocks when they're down.
Yeah.
Right?
Same thing with people, I think, right? If we're with you in the trenches and you know that we're there to commit to you when you're going through some shit. When it's easy, right? It's like any relationship. When it's easy, it's easy. I could be friends with anybody when everybody's making money and having a good time. What's the problem? But when people are struggling, when they're stressed, when they're depressed, who's there? Who's making sure shit's coming out? Who's making sure that we're pushing things forward, right? That's what's going to stick. And I know that we're coming into it. Like, I think this is just the beginning and we're just preparing our stomachs. I wish I could be squatting more so I have a stronger core, better posture for the next round of pain. You know what I mean? But we'll figure it out. I think if I had to pick a way to live through this time, I would definitely pick the one where I believe we can do it and we push and we put everything we got and leave it all out there on the field, so to speak, right? I'm going to be sad for this weekend. I'm going to let myself feel that thing. I'm going to remember that pain so that I can do what I can to avoid it in the future. And then we're going to push forward and we're going to make it happen. This is the future Dale and Grace here to reflect on what you have just heard in the podcast.
A little addendum or
Exactly.
forward. Okay.
We wrapped up the episode of the podcast and realized that we were talking about my busted knee, and that Grace had definitely some words, some choice words to say about me and my busted leg all week. And we have to let the people know what we're going through over here. We got to take photos of this. But yes, go ahead and let the people know what your life has been like for the past week.
Well, basically working with Dale's foot right next to me in my face, like me moving my mouse and accidentally hitting his foot sometimes, like his bare foot, and just like the toes caressing my bag too. The other foot is like on my bag.
No, it's not. What
Yeah,
are you talking about?
You put your one foot on like right by my mouse, and the other foot was like on my bag that's hanging on the chair.
She knows, not me.
And it's funny because you have a busted knee. I had a busted back. I had a bulging disc for the past 2 months.
Oh,
And
that's true. This only happens because you're sitting on the floor.
Exact. So I've been sitting on the floor because it feels better for my back. And so I'm on the floor and he's up on the couch and his leg is out extended from the couch. And so it aligns with where my computer is. And so that's been the situation. That's something no one talks about. I like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're both in a tiny little room in this apartment in Brooklyn making it happen, and
literally at your feet. I'm literally at your feet.
that's the thing.
One thing that really struck me this week was the fork. That really got me. I was like, huh.
No one knows what you're talking about, though.
Well, Dale had finished. You finished your lunch up here, upstairs, and then it was dinner time, and you were like, "Can you heat up my food downstairs and bring it up to me?" So I was like, "Okay," because your knee's busted. And I did it, and I bring it up with a fork, and you're like, "Hold up, that fork, it's clean. Let me take my dirty fork from lunch and use that one so that I can save a fork." And I was like, "What?" And that really caught me off guard, but I was like, "Okay, sure."
I'm a man of my word, bro. Efficiency is king. It
The
is true,
fork
by the
was
way.
the dinner
It's like I gave her, like, literally she was like doing calculus in her head. She had no idea what I meant. She was
No, no,
staring at
no,
me.
no, no. I understood if the dinner fork wasn't already like in the food and already dirty.
Yeah, but you don't understand, bro. The fork was already dried and crusty from lunch. This fork was all soft and you could have just rinsed it and be done with it. There is a difference in time to clean it. But Grace is slowly getting used to just how crazy I am. My obsession with efficiency is actually aggravating. And my friends would know this. I'm also a bit of a hoarder too, and I'm trying to break out of that habit. So like all this stuff is in that same category, these little OCD tendencies. But man, I did
It's
not
funny
know the
because
fork messed you up like that.
I have some of these like thought patterns that you have. So a lot of it does make sense when you do these efficiency things. I'm like, oh my God, I think that way too. Or like when you're walking somewhere in New York and making sure that you're walking in a certain crossing at certain
Yes.
places to make sure you never stop. Like I do that too. Stuff like that. But the fork, I was like, whoa, that got me. So
That's this week's title right there. Feet and forks. Dale
oh
and Grace take over the world.
feet and forks.
It is what it is, but that is true. At some point, and okay, you might be saying, damn, this is some weird shit. It is weird. It was super weird the first day when I'm like, is my bare foot, like, are you cool with this? And then guess what, man? 3 days in, it was like, whatever, bro.
I mean, yeah, you did offer. You're like, you can work downstairs. There were different stations I could work at, but I was like, nah, I'm used to here, so whatever. There's a foot, whatever.
And back to the show. Well, Grace, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining me on another week of us attempting to take over the world.
Mhm.
Bit of a setback this week, but nothing will stop us. Tell me one thing about you that I don't know.
You use the same question.
I did keep you on your toes.
You said we can't do that.
No. You cannot do that. Fine. Oh, you're supposed to throw one at me this week. Did
No,
you
we
throw one
both
at me last week?
yes.
All right. I'm going to go ice cream or frozen yogurt and why?
Ice cream.
Wow,
Ugh.
look at that attitude. Why?
I don't like frozen yogurt. I ate it for so many years when my friends and I would go to the mall in New Jersey and there's nothing better to do. And it was like, ooh, froyo. It's like a cool thing to do.
16 handles.
Yes.
Get the
Yeah.
gummy bears.
Yes. I'm thinking of it. And I'm like, I didn't even like it. And I ate it just because it was an activity. But ice cream for sure. It's just cream. But the thing, I hate yogurt. I just don't like yogurt.
Oh. Okay, so here's my it's not a hot take. It's just that I had froyo recently and it was way better than I thought it was going to be. I really was a very ice cream only guy, but I had pistachio froyo and it was
It's like
pretty freaking
good,
good.
but if you're given those pistachio ice cream and pistachio froyo, in what world are you choosing the froyo over the ice cream?
Yeah, but you get all the toppings. I guess you don't know how much you're paying for that. So you're saying equal amount, equal price, right?
Mm-hmm. Equal toppings if you want.
I just don't think that's the case. I think it is more cost effective because you're going to get toppings on the froyo.
Okay, so you're talking about
Typically.
cost. I'm talking about flavor. So
No, I know that, but we're talking. Remember, we put it all together. Remember how last?
I'm not
By
putting
the
it all
way,
together.
also mad for chicken, boneless 10-piece. Found you another one, fam. The boneless 10-piece costs the same as what was it? 5 bone in or 8 bone in. You're gonna get more meat per dollar. Go for the boneless. Thank me later. Anyways, you're saying pure flavor wise, that's one thing. But how about this? hard ice cream versus soft froyo, bro. Now it's a little different, I think. Are
No,
you? What do you? No, not even really.
yeah.
I
I
love me some soft ice cream though. I like both, but I have a
soft serve, yeah. But you said soft froyo, so then I'm like, no.
right. It's froyo is soft serve compared to like the like pistachio. I don't know, man. It's ice cream probably is better, right?
I just like the cream, creamy. There's that like undertone flavor of yogurt in froyo that I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like
Yeah. All right. All right. You're gonna make me rethink things, but I
I've
gotta
been
say it's better than I thought it was. That's all I'm gonna say. And I have pistachio, and I didn't think that was gonna be a flavor that would work. But I think maybe the stronger flavors, like if you just did vanilla,
yeah.
vanilla was gonna taste a lot like yogurt. I think. I'm a newbie froyo enjoyer, so if anyone's got their tips, let me know. But ain't nothing really topping Cold Stone, right?
Don't like Cold Stone.
What, bro? The
No.
way they like soften it up on the rock or whatever. What do you like?
Like plastic to me.
What do you like, bro?
The New York ice creams, like a Van Leeuwen or like a
Oh, look at her.
yeah, like a Morgenstern. Like if I'm going for ice cream, I'm going for ice cream. Or if I'm going for comfort, I'll go Ben and Jerry, like a tub of that, but not Cold Stone. I thought it was cool once, and I had it at a carnival, and I was like, "Ugh, no."
Yeah.
I was raised by very foodie parents though, with high standards. So I
An
acknowledge.
Epicurean over here.
I feel like a little bit, but
Wow. You are also an only child.
yes, I
Let's,
was
let's
spoiled.
not forget that one. All right, Grace, your turn, your turn, your turn. I'm satisfied. That ended up being way better than I thought.
The thing that popped into my head was, wait, no. It's so boring. I just thought, wait, maybe let me see if you can do something with this boring one. If not, I'll recreate another question. But centimeters or inches?
Centimeters or inches. I don't know why that comes out dirty to me, but it is for some reason.
I didn't want it to.
Here's the wow. So that means it was dirty in your head. You fucked up.
Oh, I saw something there that looked like my childhood ruler, and then that's what reminded me.
Centimeters versus inches. I think I wish the world all had one standard. So I guess I would actually say centimeters, right? But
This is so anticlimactic.
I'm American, and so I know inches. But yeah, no, I think centimeters is actually the truth. If I could figure that out, I just want it to be easy. I don't want to have to go someplace and convert it. And everywhere else, it's one thing. Why? We think we got it like that, bro?
We do. Americans do.
But
Right?
the not no, we don't dictate that. We're just different for the sake of being different.
Which is annoying.
That's what I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree that Americans think we got it like that. But
Oh, we think we got it like that, but we don't.
we don't got it like that. I don't think so. No. We're all
Nah, yeah. So I would definitely be on the side of centimeters at this point, even though I'm so accustomed to the other way.
okay.
Satisfied?
Yeah.
Next week, we got another shot. All right. For those of you who made it this far, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back again next week with another episode of Dale and Grace. Take over the world. Work hard, be nice, and as always, keep changing.